Hey guys, welcome to another session of RBTL. This is going to be an extremely short one, and I'm even right now, even though this is on the recording, so it's kind of ironic. So whether or not this gets aired, we'll see. So if it doesn't get aired, you don't hear it. If it gets aired, you hear this anyways, but it doesn't matter. It's just like rambling. Kahle Rick is here. The YouTube video no longer has the English voiceover. I was surprised. It is the original Korean intro video, but with English subs. Kahle Rick, if you haven't watched my initial thoughts video on him, doesn't seem like he's getting a nerf, so that's a good thing. Hold on, I'm gonna actually pull up the data mine so we actually have something to talk about there for people who don't know, and I'm hoping that you guys actually did the research to actually pull it up too. His damage mods are actually really good. They're really good. A lot of people are saying that his cleave sucks, but I actually don't think so. I think his cleave is actually really strong. First things first is a Virgo. Key things I talked about in that video, but definitely check it out for more theory crafts and my initial thoughts. Very hyped for him. If he doesn't get a shadow nerf on his release, I'd say 100% pull for him. I made this comment before that his skill set is so good that I think that he should have been the limited hero and not Cerise. I feel that there's so many heroes that were like regular RGB that are around Cerise's level. Whether they're meta or they're niche picks, either way, I still didn't believe that Cerise deserved the spotlight. Plus the fact, and I know this has been a complaint, and I should put this here anyway, but Smilegate was pretty scummy to use that limited artifact as one of the what do you call it? The drop rate, the currency drop rate artifacts, but then putting it on a limited banner that the hero got nerfed before the banner was released. I feel that's pretty scummy, but I'm gonna save that. This is Kahle Rick time, and so he is a Virgo, first of his type, 5-star Virgo mage, 1300 attack, insanely strong. The fastest mage right now in the game in terms of 5-star. So he's gonna be, I think, a new sort of like opener in terms of one, DPS, and then the second thing is the type of shift that we have to start thinking about in terms of build. I know that some people may not think that stats, like especially like 2 or 3 speed stats off compared to like the faster or slower hero counterparts, make a big difference. But in terms of like, let's say 1-for-1 gear versus like a Bazaar, Kahle Rick will always be quote unquote faster. Of course, you do have to get good roles for everything else to make him usable if you're going to use him as an anti-Bazaar, but I don't know if that's where he ends. Right now his imprint, sorry, it keeps going up and down because I'm thinking as I'm talking. His imprint is 18% self imprint attack, and like I said, 1300 attack. I think it's exactly 1308. Which is like very high. I think the next level would be like 1400 and near 1500, or actually 1500 mages. Mages are meant to be strong. His HP is decently low. His defense is pretty good, 650-ish. Then the imprint on a 1300 base is a roughly 200 attack. Oh, actually, maybe 200 attack, a bit over. So it's very good to have if you're gonna pull for the imprint. Again, he's not a limited one, so this time, you don't have to really debate whether or not you want to go full ham on him. I myself, I think if I have the ability to do so, I'm gonna pull for a couple. I'm not gonna go for triple S because the likelihood of possibly getting him on a daily and then mixing it with like a mystic rotation that you're interested in terms of the ML, and he's in the mystic rotation is going to be there. So I never like going like triple S on an RGB that's not limited, but potentially I hopefully if I get lucky, I'll pull for a couple, but I already shoot myself in my foot because I never get lucky. S1, I'll go S1 all the way to S3. I usually cover S3 first. S1 has a 75% chance to silence for 1 turn. That's insanely crippling. That's like saying a 75% chance to stun almost on an S1 or sleep. To me, silence is super crippling, so it's very good to have. If you are going to build him with effectiveness, that silence is going to be really good. If you have 0 effectiveness, it's still effective up to any enemies with 100 effect resistance, minus the 15% chance for them to always resist, so 85%. So you don't even need to build him with effectiveness, but if you do want to get, you know, get a couple of the, because most of the times I think you're going to silence healers, so you could potentially build him with about like 50 plus effectiveness, but I think that might be taking away from what he really needs to do. Regardless, because of the S1 silence in and of itself makes him so strong, I feel that you don't need to build him a specific way. You can literally build him with like just being a fast silence dealer, so he could have effectiveness. But the thing is, he is a mage, so he can hold toggle his ancient book, which will work with his S2. Which is why some people are saying that no, don't even go resistance, go all speed, all damage. So like go like a Assassin Kahle, Assassin Sid type build. Like if you get a splash of effectiveness, sure, that's fine, but mainly harness speed, attack, crit damage, and crit rate. He has 23% crit rate off the bat as well for Virgo mages. Is very impressive. So in terms of like, even if you don't look at his skills as impressive, just his base stats are super impressive to use, and you're not chasing HP on a mage anyway, unless it's like Dizzy and Sage Baal, who are, I forgot their star sign, but I would know it on another day if I'm thinking, but they're really tanky. So in this case, like you want to chase those things, so you would just go speed, attack, crit damage, crit chance, and if you have Toggle's Ancient Book, using him in RTA, any book holder in RTA, if you can get like 3 mages into your team, and they all have like a max book, and all of them are equally threatening, you have like insane, like you have an insane team to use. Like if you have like a Bazaar and Oxlots and you have like a Kawerik, that's pretty GG. An RTA pick, I mean, because no matter what, they're gonna be in a bit of danger. Of course, there's always counters. So yeah, ignore effect resistance, but it has an up to 100% chance if you +4 that Mola there, 100% chance to dispel 1 buff. Now, about just a week before this patch note, we did have a bug about ML Cecilia's barrier and the immunity buff order. So originally we thought that it was like a, you know, like an quote-unquote improvement because of Kawerik's upcoming release, where that if you did the 1D spell on Kawerik, it would actually remove the barrier first and then keep the immunity. So yeah, keep the immunity left. So right now how it is, dispel the immunity first and then go for the barrier. That's the better way to say it. Which opened up a lot of other possibilities for heroes like Sage Baal, Violin users, those 1-turn, 1 buff strippers, like Athletica. That was a big one actually. But apparently that was a bug, so they placed it back. But in Kawerik's case, it doesn't really matter unless your Kawerik is extremely weak, or that MLCC has like an adamant shield, or there's an Aureus and an adamant shield on that team, or that MLCC has a huge barrier, because his S2 actually does quite a bit of damage. It's a 1.4 times mod with 30% or 0.003 speed mod. So no matter what, you're going to most likely eat through the barrier anyway. So if you eat through the barrier first and then you strip, you're going to strip the immunity. So if you have the ignore effect resistance, it's going to happen in terms of you're just spelling the buff, and then you're gonna also increase the cooldowns for the enemy twice for 1 turn. But if you ignore the effect resistance, you're always gonna get 2 turns. So both of them will roll 100%. So ignore the resistance. So that becomes a really good opener to counter Bazaar. But like I said, you know, some people who build like 270 speed Bazaars may not have the luxury of having all these other crazy stats, but whereas Kawerik still needs like crit rate, I think, and crit damage and attack. Regardless how much you give him, I think he still needs those. So like, are you gonna be really beating Bazaar in speed? You have about like a 10 speed on the base stat difference in terms to beat him from the get-go. But if like I said, if the Bazaar is built insanely fast and all going into speed, then you might not be able to beat him. So anyways, but that doesn't mean much, because what he could do is he could do this for like a MO Chloe, those teams that especially in RTA right now that are picking like buffers that can really win like the fight. Like let's say for example, like Alina, right? Alina for the invincibility buff, C Armin for the invincibility buff, Mei Chloe for the revive buff. What you could do if you're fast enough, of course, you could do the soul burn, ignore effect resistance, and you can cripple the entire team with just Kawerik himself as an opener. And it doesn't mean that he's bad either, because to follow up, he's actually really strong. He's gonna be fast, and our prominent strippers right now are Basar, which is Earth, and Alencia. A lot of people use her as a stripper. So they got elemental disadvantage on Kawerik, so you might not be able to strip the speed buff. So that would go into the S3. So the S3 is has up to a 30% defense penetration if the caster has a speed buff on. So that's very good. I was saying that if he had something like a Wind Rider equivalent for Mage, if that ever comes down the line, he'd be super annoying to deal with, because he go to stealth potentially if you kill on the S2. The only problem with this is that he doesn't have a he doesn't have an attack buff right away. So one of the theory crafts, I was saying that if you can get Kawerik and Oxlot in on the same team, again, Kawerik higher base speed, if your Oxlot is slower than him, then what he could do is set himself with a speed buff, Oxlot him into the second turn, defense penetration 30% with an attack buff on Oxlots before the enemy even gets a turn. This is 35% raw damage on this skill, and it's not even weak. It's 0.8. Okay, so 0.8. Let me put a picture in that. Earth Vildred is a pretty strong cleaver in the game. Yes, he has more attack than Kawerik, but he doesn't have a defense penetration of 30%. And Earth Vildred is a 0.9. 0.9 times damage mod on the S3 for his cleaving skill. Right, so we're talking about 0.8, so 10% less on Kawerik's S3, but he has up to 0.00075 speed scaling, which is lower than his S2, but because he gets the speed buff on this one, which is increased 30% base speed, it'll give him a cutting edge. But with the 30% defense penetration, that will make him a serious cleaver. It'll make him a serious cleaver. He's definitely no joke. If you could somehow get an attack buff, somehow come up with a comp to get an attack buff up before you using the cleave, that would be good too. To be honest, depending on the fight, you could literally stall for one turn with using just the S1 as well. Because again, 75% silence is no joke. So you could literally silence the person you increase the cooldown on, or you could silence someone else who doesn't take advantage of immunity. Anyways, regardless, he's very strong. When I say strong, it doesn't mean that okay, he's like an SSB, like you're gonna bring him to every single fight. That's not the case. I don't think that's the case for anything. SSB, Dizzy's, like they're very good. Charles, they're very good for a lot of fights. Those make them like really strong as well. But because he's a squishier hero, no self damage mitigation already limits his usage. It's just like Melissa. So Melissa's really good now, but she's very squishy. So for me, a very, 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 very strong hero would also accompany very high sort of survivability stats. This is also why I rate ML Charlotte very high, but that's another video for another time. Anyways, the new artifact, I said this again on that video, Black Hand of the Goddess. I think that this could be a good one on Melissa. If you have a hard time building the crit chance, and you can build higher damage so she ensures the kill, so she can cycle her S2 more often. This is not a bad artifact to have regardless. But I think because it's not a limited one, I think for this banner specifically, I think if you get Kawerik early and you don't get the artifact, I don't know if it's worth chasing. I mean, the thing is, again, it will come to the powder shop. It will be mixed and matched with your mystic rotations, also on daily, and it's not like insanely strong. I think it's niche use, but it's a nice to have. I love an arsenal of mage artifacts, like, because mages are just nasty creatures. So we have the banner, and then we have the Requiem for the Forsaken. Definitely interested because I really love Kawerik. Even just reading episode 2, I wish I saw more of him. I felt that he kind of fell off midway, but Kawerik seems to be very, very interesting. Appeared in the Vivian, I think the Vivian side story. No, maybe not. But yeah. Anyways, so that's pretty much it for this update. So my thoughts pretty much on the banner itself. Highly recommend. I think it's one of the more worthwhile heroes, and I'm definitely gonna build him because I really like him. So even if I don't have the gear, I'm gonna make him work because I think he looks cool, and I definitely think he has uses. So I'm gonna end this for the video recording. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next RBTL.